Hello and welcome to the Group C Fantasy Preview for ESL Pro League Season 16. Today's group is Ents, Heroic, Astralis, Mals, Complexity, and Heat. It is the most unknown group of all, in my opinion. But before we go into that, you'll see, as we bring it up, will be the points that we've got from the overall event. So we've been doing pick'ems across Group A and B. And the point system is 1 point for getting them in the correct place, another point if you get the correct team qualifying, even if it's in the wrong place, and then 5 points if you get the entire group correct. No one's done that yet, so that's still yet to be done, and I will be impressed if anyone can do it. So, but currently I'm leading with 11 points, and then Freddie's in second with 10, then Brandon with 7, and Emu with 5, which I have no idea how you've managed to only get 5 points so far. I know the NIP thing was a bit of a miss from both of us, but
yeah, I'm so good.
Brandon is beating you, and his Group B, we'll bring it up, his Group B is FaZe Clan, so this is from 1st to 6th. FaZe Clan, MIBR, For the Win, G2, Outsiders, Big. And Brandon is beating you.
To be fair, I was right about Big.
No, you're wrong about Big. Big didn't bottom out.
Yeah, well, they might as well have done. Right?
They might as well have done, yeah. But For the Win in 3rd. Sisson, yeah, he's
the floor.
He's an onliner.
He knows what grass tastes like now. He fucking ate it. The whole group today.
So yours, Emu, was FaZe, G2, Big, MIBR, Outsiders, and For the Win.
He was the easiest person to curb stomp for this week because he was already in position. Just needed to step on his head.
The poor guy. I just feel bad for Tabson in that roster. How can you call and be consistently fragging?
Well, he's done it to himself, so I can't really feel sorry for him. He's got offers. And he's gone, no, I want to stick with my German boys. I want to bring up the local scene, which I can respect if they weren't all terrible.
The other thing was Crimbo was open for some of the tournament and better than Sisson at times. It's just worrying. It's just worrying.
I reckon you bring Sin in.
I just think Sisson needs to play from home if he's going to play.
Is he in academy?
Yeah, he's a good rifler. I don't know why he'd bring in the rifler, but anything's better than Sisson. No, he hadn't. Oh my god, I can't talk. He didn't have the best event, did he? And I didn't have the best sentence there. So kind of reflective of what happens, really.
Big's got a good track record with English Orpers. I think they bring in Mantu. Oh no, he's Polish, isn't he? No, my bad.
Or Spanish, or whatever he wants to go under. Really, it's up to him. Depends how he's feeling that week. But he's like the Diego Costa of Counter-Strike. He just changes his flag depending on what team's winning. Freddie was the only person to Riddick G2 to win the group. And once again, he isn't here. He can't join us. He's still in the process of moving. But I mean, he predicted G2, so I think we can allow him the week off. Other than that,
is that how it works?
I mean, if you predict G2 with Hooksy leading to go 5-0 in groups, then fair play.
No one expected them to absolutely dominate this group.
They look really good as well, especially against FaZe. They look very good, very, very solid CS, had a pure game plan coming in. Hooksy didn't play that badly either, to be fair to him.
Yeah, he played okay.
So
there was games where he was out-fragging JKS.
Oh, I think I hot take. I think JKS is really overrated, but we'll move on.
What you just said, blasphemer.
If you'd told me before the group that they were going to win it, I'd have called you out on your delusions of grandeur. But
they had a 73 round difference.
Yeah, that's quite dominant. They didn't drop the map either, I don't think.
No, I don't believe they did. Because they almost did, right? With was it in the last game they played and they went to OT?
I think Big went double OT, as in both games went OT. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think the series that they had.
Yeah, Big was
some of them
1916, 1917.
Yeah. So I mean, they did well though. And yeah, I think it's not exactly signs of like what they are gonna be doing in playoffs. I don't know if they're gonna be able to replicate this. I think they've lucked out a bit with the group. You know, Big looked really weak. MIBR looked terrible. Anytime they got to a third map, they just weren't there. And for the win, were just a bit of a write-off for the whole series. And Outsiders came in looking surprisingly well. So I don't think
I didn't expect
G2...
Outsiders to do that well either, to be fair.
I said this. I think James had enough time. Everyone keeps saying how smart he is, and you didn't believe in it.
No,
And now look where you are on the points.
Below me with MIBR for the win.
Below.
So yeah, I don't particularly think G2 will be able to replicate the performance.
I'm going to recover. I reckon I can win this entire pick. I'm saying.
You think so?
I'm going to get both groups correct.
I think Group C and D are so difficult to predict.
Well, the issue Group C is perfect.
Group C is the battle of the average.
Yeah. So who do you think is going to win that one then, Brandon?
I think probably Heroic. If I'm being honest, I reckon that out of all the teams, Heroic will probably win it because, like, look, you can sit there and you can talk about Ents and you can say, okay, well, look, they've got a brand new roster change, which I feel like that there's a lot of discussion points for that Ents roster. I think that they'll come second. I don't think that they're going to be right at the top. I don't think they're going to be competing with 100%. I think that's incredibly unrealistic to expect them just to come out the gate. I mean, they could just have a honeymoon period and just completely wreck everyone. But I think strongest team in that group right now is Heroic. I think like Ents will come second, and then third, I would expect Mouse Sports to do it, but it's going to be between Mouse and Astralis, and I feel like Astralis will just choke.
Yeah, the Astralis worry me a lot, just in general, any event that they're at. But it's like it's all down to BlameF, right? I mean, it always has been. It's if he can frag enough, but even when he does frag enough, they don't always win. It's mainly it's him, and then they need Config to turn up. If Config turns up, then they can take. I think they can take the win over any of these teams in this group as long as Config's there alongside him. I think they've got the experience and they've got the fragging power there. There's got to be something there mentally with them, and also Farley as an AWPer, I think isn't entirely up to par in this group. I think in terms of Danish AWPers, you have Cadian there, who's the IGL AWP, and I would personally say that he has more impact in the game as an AWPer than Farley does, which is tough. And I think if you put him up against the likes of Sumpius and Torzi, and maybe even Holzerk at this point, then I don't think he matches up to them. But the other team, I mean, I've got Ents to go through first. I've got them in first. You and Emu both have Heroic. I did sit there debating Heroic, and honestly, the game it came down to is Ents versus Heroic. For me, it's either of those teams taking that top spot, and I think it comes down to that game specifically. I think they are both probably going to look to go 4-4, and then that game will decide who goes 5 wins. That's how I see this group going. And then Ents, third and fourth spot is.
I think Ents needs a bit more time. I'm going Heroic, Mouse Sports, Ents. I think that's the way it goes. I think Astralis have got a say in this group. It's just been getting worse and worse for them as time goes on. I think the mentality is probably at the lowest it's going to be. I think roster changes are due. I think they're regretting signing Zipnix for 5 years. I think he's laughing all the way to the bank. So yeah, I'd say probably Heroic. I think Mouse have looked really, really good recently. Last couple of events they've played, really surprising results. And then they stopped sort of being surprising when it happens so many times in a row. And I think it's happened enough times in a row now that we can start to actually expect them to place high in this group. And if they don't, that's when you start going, right, well...
I think the removal of BMAS for Zertian is something that's going to try and push them to the level that they kept missing out on being at.
Yeah. That was a really cool article on HLTV, and it was, I don't know if you guys saw it, and it was basically, we compare academy players or ex-academy players to like players in the tier 1 circuit, and it's like based off their stats, and Exertion was in that article and they compared him to a Leech, they said that his stats were most similar, and he was like projecting to be more of a player similar to Elige. And you know how impactful Elige has been for Liquid. So obviously it's going to take him a while to adjust. Mal's NXT, when they were playing in a lot of tier 2 tournaments. They did really well in Repub League as well, and they were playing some tier 1 opposition in there. It looked close. I think they played the main Fnatic roster and took it to 3 maps, if I'm not mistaken. So they've got tier 1 experience for sure, but I feel like Exertion needs a little bit of time to mold in. But I feel like with having played with JDC before, have played with Torji before, I don't feel like that adjustment will actually take that long.
I think it's also great the amount of Israeli talent coming into the scene at the minute. Like, you saw it with Nerts, and now you got Surgeon here. You had Spinks, who's moved on from Ents. But I also think as well that Mals have a great scouting and talent pool that they build up in their academy. The amount of talent that keeps coming out of that academy is insane. And you can see how they were able to have impact straight into that tier 1 scene, you know, like you say, with the likes of Torzi and JDC. So it's great, especially because Torzi has been consistently their top player, and then Frozen's usually sitting behind him. And I think that the talent now on that team and the fragging power is there, but it's whether Dexter's had time to manage them. He's still quite, in my opinion, an experienced IGL, especially in Europe. I think there's no debate he's experienced across in Australia and the Oceania region, but I think in Europe he still needs time, especially when he's managing such young players. I think that's quite tough for someone.
I think that's only going to work to his benefit, though, because I feel like the young players will just listen to him because he has got that wealth of experience, and they're all eager to learn. They're happy to be there for the opportunity, and so far it's worked out. Looked pretty good in Cologne. I was there. JDC was performing really well, and the crowd were behind him, and that's only going to motivate him more. And I feel like, they're gonna. I think they're gonna do well this Pro League. I think. That's a consistent storyline. I feel like that they should go through, no problems.
Do you think
I thought Dexter was doing so well that I was expecting him to be the G2 buyout, to be honest. Before they got Hooksy. That's what I was expecting.
I don't think he would have been there long if they had done that. I can't really see, and I don't think he's... For me personally, when I've watched him and seen him in interviews, he doesn't seem the kind of person that would be able to handle the likes of like Nico and like Hunter, just in terms of the range of skill that they have and how experienced they are. I think when you bring in an IGL, I know Hooksy's less experienced, but I feel like you can see the way he talks to that team. I think if Dexter came in, he just wouldn't be able to handle that.
I think as well that the thing is with Dexter is when he first came to Mouse, he was saying about the project that it was going to be, because obviously that roster's transitioned a lot since he's been there. I think he wouldn't have left anyway, just due to how successful that one is going. I wonder for me, if we are doing like, who do you think would have been the IGL for G2? I wouldn't have minded to see Snappy. I feel like Snappy could have been a good choice for them just because he's got experience. He's developed this Ents team, but again, it's the project. So it's one of those where it probably might not come into fruition. I think the Ents, just deviating back to that little tangent, back to Ents, that whole story is interesting because you've got 2 players that have left. You've brought in really good recruiting, by the way. You've brought in Valda and you've brought in Sun Pius. What's interesting is those players are really vocal. I'm not 100%. I don't think Sun Pius was the IGL from what we saw. It was Alex, but I guarantee that Sun Pius was either second call-in or just being very vocal, because that's just kind of player he is. Valda's quite vocal. So suddenly you've got all these voices in the team that you didn't have before. And that's why in that interview kind of like a few months ago where Snappy was saying, we do a lot of calling out spawn. It's to give it some sort of direction, because if you haven't got voices in the mid-round, then that's going to be really difficult to kind of get some ideas going. But now you've got all of these people stepping in with opinions. That's going to be a whole different culture shift for Ents. And I don't think they're going to have enough time to kind of figure that one out and nail that one down properly. Unless like Snappy just goes, okay, everyone just shut up. Like, let me just play, right? So I feel like that dynamic's really interesting. I think Valda's going to perform really well because he's going to be in roles that will allow him to rifle a lot better. And like he can be more of the star rifler for that team. I think you saw it when he was in Heroic, how good he was when he had space and he had freedom. and it will take him a little bit of time to get back to that. But I feel like that's a very good signing comparatively to his roles in OG, where he wasn't allowed to really shine in that roster. I feel like it's a very good pickup, and he could probably get back to the level he was showing in Heroic. I just feel like that will need a bit of time.
I think that it's, let's say, they are all quite vocal. They brought in 2 very tanned players as well, which is odd. That's all anyone keeps commenting on his on Valde's picture, is just why is he so tanned. But I think they have the star power as well in this team. I think Sunpires for Hades is such an upgrade. It's also just a change in play style, which is, I think, where the conversation comes in of has Snappy been able to adapt this team, because I don't know if they're going to change much particularly, or if they're just going to give Sunpires more freedom because he's a more vocal player. Like, Hades is extremely passive, and we saw the impact that Sunpires has on Movistar back when they were qualifying and getting into playoff spots. And I think with Hades, he was never particularly up there in terms of star. It was usually Dihar or Spinks. I think Spinks is the big loss, and when we talk about a project that's being built and something that's having success, I do understand Hades being swapped out, because I feel like when you have the option to bring in Sunpires over Hades, it's a no-brainer. But Spinks leaving is a big hit to them. I think Valde with time will be able to take those roles and, kind of have similar impact. But he is such a good player, and you can already see the impact that he's having by the switch out of Masuta for Spinks in Vitality. So I think it's going to be, like you say, a test of time. But I do also think that just the upgrades in terms of firepower will put them through against the majority of these teams, because, like I say, we look at Astralis, it's Blameth and Config, and if Config doesn't turn up, well, who are you looking for? Glaive, Farley, Zipnix? Those players aren't fragging really anymore. It's very rare that you see Farley with with 25 kills in a game. Heroic is a similar situation. It's Stavon, who is on and off, really. He is their top player, but he's on and off. Tessus has been performing well. You expect Cadian to turn up. Yabi's not been doing particularly well since he joined. And Shush is, again, another one who, when they all do turn up, they perform really well, but sometimes they just don't. Mouse is a question mark as well. You've got Complexity, who's a question mark if they'll turn up. Again, it's the players. I think in terms of Ents, though, you have those players that you can be confident in that are going to perform on a top level, and you've got enough of them in that squad that I think they will just take wins. I'm not sure about Complexity.
I think Complexity's bottoming out. I think they're completely bottoming out this group. I don't think they lose. I don't think they beat anybody. I think Astralis is a close second behind them. I don't expect them to turn up. If they turn up, great for them. I'm not expecting them to. I think Heat have been looking really good. I think the pickup of Jax has really benefited them. I think it's just going to sort of elevate the roster a little bit. And I expect them to come out swinging. I expect them to come out with their research done. They're not going to get a lot of tier 1 events. I wouldn't, this is the group stage, sure, but I think they're going to put a lot of time and effort and focus onto this group, this one particular, where other teams might be looking more at a general adaptation, a general development, because they've added a couple of new players and they're expecting to stay at the top. I think Heat's going to be the team with the most anti-stratting going on, the most direct focus on the other teams. When it comes to, coming out the gate swinging, they'll have different things prepared. I feel like they'll have different things prepared for each team in this group, where you might not get that from every other team. I expect Heat to be, the one buying at the ankles of the top 3, but I don't expect them to make it. I'll give them 4th. But
I've got Heat in 5th. I've got Complexity finishing 6th. I've got Heat in 5th. I
don't expect Complexity to play the game.
If we talk about Complexity, they beat Na'Vi in a best of 1 at Blast.
Yeah, but that's best
Na'Vi,
of 1.
and it's Na'Vi without Simple. And that was the first match they played without Simple.
Even with Simple, Na'Vi just, at the start of tournaments, will just throw maps away.
And and it's a best of 1. I think Complexity might be able to take maps off teams. I think like a new Mouse, they might be able to take a map off. I still don't see it just in terms of like, if you put firepower to firepower in terms of to Ents in Complexity, I don't think they take it. Heroic, I think just it comes down to experience again. It's the, like, you've got JT calling in that roster, and he's someone that doesn't frag and hasn't got experience to the likes of Glaive or Cadian, or even Snappy. It's very tough for them to take wins. I think Hulzer coming in over Junior is massive, and I think that's had significant impact. But I don't think it's enough. I think there still needs to be changes.
I think
I like
the
Floppy.
yeah, I like
like
Floppy as
Floppy.
well. But I think to be honest with you, the person no one's really talking about, and the person that really needs to step up and just kind of kick in. Because look, you're gonna always have Floppy being consistent. I reckon Hulzer will put up numbers because I think he's a good AWPer. I think the person that people don't really talk about is Fang, because Fang was really consistent in Extra Assault. He was doing really well before that roster became Complexity. I'm not really too sure what's happened, but ever since they became Complexity and joined the big name, he hasn't been the same player. And maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe I don't know what it is. I'm just speculating, but he was instrumental to that team playing really well before, and he's really dropped off a bit. And LAN, hopefully we can see Fang playing a bit better. Do I think we'll see it? Probably not, but I'd love to, because I'm a big fan of Fang, and I really hope he can kick on. I don't think they're going to achieve too much in the Pro League group. I'd like to, because I like the guys. I think they're very friendly. I think that they're good. I like Complexity in general, as in that roster.
I like the players on the roster. I just don't necessarily think they've got what it takes to shoot back.
You're definitely right about Fang, because I think, with no disrespect intended, he is particularly forgettable on this roster. And I think that's also the same for Grim. Grim's come from Liquid into this roster. He's not playing poorly, as such, but I think he's also just another player on this roster that is quite forgettable. All the talk has been around Junior for months, and JT is the IGL. Yeah, exactly. And now Holzer's come in, and that really is the name. He's also quite a character, just in terms of his look with his hair.
Yeah,
like he is a talking point in the team.
I did hear as well that the mood in the camp has gone up a lot since that change has happened, and like everyone feels a lot more confident. So
that'd be good. Shooting back. That's going to make anybody happy. No, I know, but Junior just isn't tier 1. I think that's, or even tier 2. I don't think, and it's just becoming more and more clear. I've not seen Junior do anything since, what was it? The team with I'm forgetting the name. They had a stag as their logo.
Triumph.
He showed a couple of things for a couple of months in Triumph, as far as I remember, and that was.
Oh no, he was farming in Triumph. Like don't discredit that. Like he was performing very well in Triumph. That was with Grim as well. I think
maybe it was the what, but he's not done anything since.
He has been struggling in the team. I think the change was necessary for Complexity to, if they need to win, because it's one of those rosters which to me hasn't cost them a lot to get, and they can have their partner spots, they can have the qualification, which they will do through NA, because they still are one of the better teams in NA, which is difficult to say when you look at them come up against the EU teams and how much they struggle there. But they are still one of the better teams. EG is in misery. I don't know what is happening with that team. It's just a struggle for them as well. There's the only hope that they've got at the minute is Liquid, but I think Complexity are probably up there in for second or third best in NA right now, and they need to step it up in EU if they want to retain that position.
Well, I'm looking at their recent matches, and there's been a couple of hard opponents there, but I don't know that, like, even Floppy's had a big fall off, and I rated him as probably the best player in that roster.
I think in the last 3 months he's only so good had a one rating overall, which is and not expected.
A little bit bog standard.
I think people do look at him as the star player of that team.
100%.
Yeah, he is.
I can see why, but he's not really been.
He just needs to refine that form, like you said, that he had in C9. It's tough. It is a tough thing to do, especially if they're coming into these tournaments, and as an NA team, they already have kind of that like stigma behind them, and that is probably like Brandon was saying about the mood, the amount of losses that they've had. And it's the same probably for EG. The amount of losses that they've had, it must be tough to try and break that mindset to come in and beat a team, especially when the group
Oh,
is
that sounds like-
so yeah, especially when the group is kind of, in my opinion, is so even in terms of who could go through. I think this is very, very even in like, especially with the changes that every team in here has had.
Holzluck made a funny tweet when they made it through the RMR Open qualifiers. He was like, "Oh, I should have moved here years ago."
Oh, you should have. Oh dear. And Heat is. I think Heat haven't yet had the opportunity that they've got here, and I do think they are. I don't think they're going to struggle particularly hard. I think they should do okay.
I
they'll
think
take
I'll
maps.
put it this way. I think if Heat were in Group D, I'd be putting them to get out.
Ooh, that's a bold statement. I don't think I could. I don't think.
Oh,
I could
who
say
said
that.
Group B? I was like, wait, what?
I don't even
D,
think
Group
I can
D.
make that.
I think Heat get out Group D.
I don't know. No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
That's bold.
I think they're a better team than Eternal Fire. I think they're a better team than Evil Genius. I think they're a better team than Furia. I think they're a better team than Movie Star Riders.
I think Furia.
I don't think they're a better team than Furia.
Yeah, I know Furia have been struggling, but I think Furia would just run over them with their style of Counter-Strike. I don't know.
Furia.
The French just.
That's a hot take.
The French against
we'll
the Brazilians is a tough one. Yeah, I don't know about that. I do think Heat get maps here. I think they beat Complexity. That's what I've got them down to do. Don't have them to beat anyone else, but I think they might take maps.
Complexity. I really want Complexity to do well.
I want them. Yeah, I also want them to do well. I like the org.
nothing against Complexity.
I like Jason Lake. I like the org. I like everything they have. I've liked their previous rosters. Them buying JKS was hope for me, and now they've gone to this.
I don't think they're bad. Okay, well. No, I don't dislike them. I think they're bad. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Should we do fantasy, or should we talk about heroic for like 2 minutes? Just because I feel like we haven't really touched heroic.
I think the main talking point is Yabi underperforming since coming into the roster.
Yeah, but like I again with that, I feel like look, he's just come into the roster. Like I understand people want immediate results, and yeah, to a certain extent you can have immediate results, but the style of IGLing of Cadian compared to Hooksy is vastly different.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it is like just because he's come into this roster, but I also think that if they are going to take this group and do well at this event, he needs to kind of try and.
I agree, but also he's moving into a role where arguably he's not the star player on this roster.
No, I don't think he is either. But again, it's like
down, right?
Yeah, but he's been underperforming as well. I just think there needs to be some consistency in this team. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he. I think he's been doing a lot worse than he should be, but obviously, he's coming to a new roster, but he just needs to perform on a level that is with the rest of them. He had a decent few maps.
Did his roles change at all in terms of like the positions he's been playing, especially on CT side? In length and the term that it takes.
He's lurking, isn't he? At least from what I've been seeing on from Inferno.
Yeah, that's different.
If you're lurking, that should inflate your
From what I was seeing, when I watched them play Inferno, every single round he'd come out B apps after they were A apps when they were on B already. He'd come out onto the balcony and he'd find a frag or he'd come on the flank. And a lot of the times he was just late to the bomb site. And I do think this, like what Brandon's saying, he is just new to the team. It's a different style of calling. I think coming into that position as well is tough. When you have to have impact as the new guy, coming in to try and secure a clutch situation is tough. It's always going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's a difficult roster to be a part of because they had such good form at the start of the year. They dropped off a bit, and you've got these players in the team that are very good. Like in terms of rosters that have a very good 5 players. I mean, FaZe is one of them, and a Carrigan's performance is a bit iffy. But like if you look at heroic, they have 5 very good players in terms of people that can perform. Like Testis is doing incredibly well. Even Shush can have his series. There's no doubts on Starvin. Like Yabi, he was doing extremely well in Copenhagen Flames. I think once he finds that form, and you've got Cadians on IGL who can frag and consistently usually does. I think that this roster looks good from that perspective. It's just whether they can get Yabi to fit nicely into that role to make it work with the team. I think that's their concern. I want them to do well. I do like heroic, and yeah,
I think they'll top the group.
I think for me, it's between them and Ents. Like I say, it's down to that game, Ents versus Heroic. I think that is the game that decides it for me. I think Astralis are too unpredictable, and it's the same for Mouse currently.
So I'm predicting Astralis to bottom out. That's what
I don't even remember where I have them. I think I've got them in 4th.
I've got them in 4th, yeah.
I think I've got Mouse to go through over them. I've got Ents, Heroic, Mouse is my prediction, and then Astralis, Heat, Complexity.
But Heroic, Mouse.
I like this group. Like I like Complexity. I like Heat. I like Mouse, Astralis, Heroic. I like and Ents.
I think that'd be good. I think there'd be really good games this week.
I think they're going to be extremely close. I think this is the best group in terms of like for a viewer's perspective. This is great.
But the worst group in terms of fantasy.
Yeah, it's so tough to pick. So, on that point, I don't even know whose we have first. It's mine. Okay, let's go for mine.
All right.
So I've got Sumpire, Starvin, Valde, Jax, and Hulzuk. So
that's a good team, to be fair.
It's tough for this group, and I keep doing the first 2 groups. I spent a lot of my money on these big budget players, and the low budget players underperformed massively. In the first group, NIP shit the bed, so nobody could have predicted how badly they would have done, and Hamper's doing poorly. Second group, I had KST. He didn't do badly in the first few days, but then they started losing it a bit towards the end, and he lost me so many points that it took away from my other players. So I finished mid-table. So I thought I'll risk it again, because why not? I'm a gambling man. So I've got Sumpius, who I think, and Valde, the 2 new signings. Like I say, I think they're going to do well individually. Even if they only get 4 wins, I feel like they will still do well individually. Starvin, best player on Heroic. I think that he will be the one performing along with Tessus if they are going to get 5 wins in this group. Hulzuk and Jax came down to money. I think Hulzuk's really decent for his money. I think again, it's if Complexity are gonna get any maps or win any of the series, I feel like he's gonna do well. He's the AWPer at the end of the day. Like he's expected to do well as the AWPer. And then Jax has just come from G2. He didn't perform, up to the standard of Nico in that roster, which nobody expected, and that's why he was.
He can play in the roles he was playing.
But he's been removed, and he's been put on a team that has less experience, and I feel like he's gonna be able to have more impact there. So that's why I've got Jackson. I think for his price, it was him or like JT or maybe Snappy.
I think if he's enabled a bit more, if he's given better roles, should we know what roles he's playing in? He's such a new.
I don't know much about the roster, to be completely honest with you. All I know is Body's in there and Afro is good. He was on it, but... I think Body and Afro are the best performing players currently.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I don't think Jax is going to do poorly in the roster. I can't see it really. He's still a good player. I think he was a good player.
I think it'll be. I think it's a good move for them, to be honest.
The other thing that was always said,
Hunter and Nico, you're not gonna
that's tough. But the other thing that was always said about G2 was that Jax was the guy to always, be the hype man, the positive attitudes, and bring in a different type of energy. If he can bring that to a team like Heat, who are not expected to do particularly well in this group or even qualify, but if you can bring that to them in those times when they need it, then maybe that is the difference maker against, like Mouse or Complexity or even Astralis. So I think they have a chance to do well in the group, and I think Jax, just in terms of his attitude, will be that guy. I'm not sure if he's gonna get me loads of points, but I think he's a better option than like JT or one of those other players.
I will say though, JT, there's always one series he pops off. No matter what the event is, he will have one amazing life series. The best of 3 will have nuke on it in a certain extent. He'll play like A and he'll just farm. Like, I don't know.
I'm waiting to see
every event.
Please tweet me with that game if it happens.
All right.
But yeah, that's my team. I found it tough to pick this group. I really did.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
It's a lot of players, and I think Blamef was definitely in contention. So Brandon's team, speaking of Blamef, he is there. So you've got Blamef, JDC, Valde, Hulzuk, and Dexter.
Yeah.
So you want to talk us through it?
Well, I feel like Blame F will just farm me points, I'm going to be honest. So I put Blame F. I've played this one a little bit differently. I've gone for a mix of, normally I go for players that I like, and then, but to be honest, it hasn't really worked out, to be honest. So what I've done is I've added Blame F to secure me some points. 1.43 rating on CT side, so whack the defender on him. Good job. JDC, all right, we've gone for a little bit of, I like this player, so I've put JDC in, and I think he's been playing quite well recently. Valder, I think he's going to be in a better position for him to do well and get some kills, especially in this group.
His
I feel
price
like
was very good as well, right?
His price was good. I feel like in this group he can do really well, and he's given the position to shine. And this is a really nice little like acid test for Ents with Valder in these positions. Hulzerk, good on the price. I think he'll do well. I think he's comparatively to the other AWPers for the prices, I feel like he's the most consistent one. And Dexter, I feel like Miles will win games, and he's all I could really afford. So I put the leader role on Dexter. Hopefully Miles wins some games. They should get out the group. So that should give me some points.
He wasn't doing too poorly in terms of like frags either. Towards like when they were winning events, he was doing pretty well. It was BMS that was struggling a lot. Same. I think JDC's also been performing well. If they're going to win games here, he should be up there along with Torzi. I think Torzi is definitely the best player in that roster currently. Along with, I mean, Frozen's close. But I think Torzi's, in my opinion, would be the best player on the roster and probably more consistent.
I should have got Torzi, but I couldn't afford him. But like, I did want him because he's my doppelganger as well. So.
But it is
I'll show you the tweet.
I saw him the other day and I did think it, but I think that Torzi, just down to Maus being fourth or third, I think that's where we're kind of putting them, and that's where it's going to be a struggle. It's for people to pick Torzi because it's like, well, if they do end up only coming fourth in the group, that means they're losing more games. So I don't know if it's worth taking.
Astralis really missed the trick with Valde. Like, there was
there were talks.
He said there were talks, and he never said. I think he said he never turned anything down. He just wasn't really given the shot.
I mean, he's also dodged a bullet in a way.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Astralis missed the trick.
Yeah,
not him. He's made the right decision in my book. But if Astralis have got their hands on Valde, I mean, I think his whole thing is he's consistent, isn't he? Just generally.
And then
your
team is fairly similar.
Valde. Yeah.
Blame F as the camper. I love it.
Blame F as the camper. I mean, he is a camper. He bakes the shit out of everybody, and that's fair enough because he gets the kill. But he's the only real person having impact on Astralis by far. I think there needs to be changes on that roster. But I think whatever happens, I think Blame F's going to be licking a wall somewhere at the back of the map. Nothing get into a free exit.
Especially when they play Ancient and he just is in Jag. Always in Jag.
He gets a couple of kills and then just sits there and waits and saves at the end of the round. It's just so bad.
That Hunter on Shush
kind of unknown, but
is interesting. Why have you gone with that on Shush?
Oh, that's spicy.
I would have expected that on Blame F, but I get the camper on him. But just can you explain yourself?
No, not really. I'm just hoping for the best. Like most things in life, it'll probably be free.
Oh no!
But I'm doubling down. I think Heroic are gonna have a good tournament. I think it's gonna be that blue moon, that coin flip. It's gonna come up heads for them. I think Shush is gonna turn his monitor on for this tournament and he's gonna pop some heads. I can't see it going wrong at all. I think Snappy. I didn't have very much money left. So I've given him noob because he's going to bot out.
So you've got 2 IGLs this time. I'd say 2.5 because I think Blame F IGLs on Mirage or Overpass or something like that. That team's a mess. In the first one you had 3 IGLs. How many IGLs did you have last time?
I won. I won in the first one with 3 IGLs.
Okay.
I'm going with the Zywu approach. He got me 180 fucking points in the first one, and I'm hoping Blamef does the same because I'm screwed otherwise.
The stat hunt is a bit questionable. I expect to see that changed after this.
I can't not pick Dexter. He's my G. I love Dexter.
I do love Dexter as well. He's a very, very solid guy. Okay.
I'll put a screenshot of the tweet of me and Torji in the chat.
Okay, I'll put it up. I'll put it up on the screen now. And then Brandon is hot.
Yeah, that's Freddie's team. That's not mine.
Freddie. No, I'd be concerned if it was you calling your team Brandon is hot. No. So he's not applied roles yet. As we say, he's moving. So, but his team is all silver.
And it's all CT sided as well. There's not one T player on that team.
So he's got Tessus, Valde, Hulzert, Cadian, and DR.
I rate the Valde and the Hulzert pick. I think Cadian's a solid one because I feel like Cadian will just do well at this event. Diha,
he's consistent, miss, isn't he? Though, yeah. I do think he doesn't perform too poorly or too well, but then occasionally he will play really well.
I don't mind the Tessus pick either.
I think in terms of us talking about Ents and Heroic, looking to take first and second place in the group, this is a good team. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a safe team as well. I like the team. I'm curious as to whether we had any money left over, because I would have liked to upgrade the Diha pick.
Diha is the one that stands out for me.
I think it's, especially in that new roster. I mean, it's Valde for the money is really good, but I don't know how much D-Hole was. So it's a bit.
I like the Tessus, Valde, and Hulzert pick. I'm not sure about the Cadian.
I like the Cadian pick.
I like the Cadian pick.
Yeah, I think he's slightly more expensive.
The D-Hole pick is the one for me.
Yeah, maybe I think this is the kind of, if this my current team doesn't work for this one, this is the approach I'll be looking at for the next event, because it doesn't seem to be working where I pick two very good players.
I've written off Fantasy League. I'm just doing it. I get told to do it. I mean, I've come third. To be fair, I've come third in both of them.
I won the last one because, well, it was bad for everyone else who picked for the win players and Emu's MIBR players. So I think I got that last one.
Diaz.
That was just you not understanding the new bro, though.
Yeah, to be fair, that was a combination of me not understanding the new bro, but also he got minus 60 points. Twists and Carrigan got me 56 points. So I'm net minus 4 on 3 players.
I feel like if I'd remembered to put my boosters on, I might have come second.
Possibly. But who do we think has got the best team leading into this one?
Obviously,
I think that Freddy's team is very safe.
I think Freddy's,
I'd like to say
Freddy's safe. Yeah, I'd say Freddy's. And
me?
No, not you.
Not you. No, not you.
Me.
I don't think the team with Snappy, Dexter, and a Stat Hunter Shush is gonna bring forth.
Right, you could be wrong. Like, this Shush could pop off.
If Shush pops off, then. You
told me
I'll eat this hoodie if Shush pops off, right? If Shush is your highest performing player in this team with Blamef and Valde, I'll eat this hoodie.
Oh, okay. You've backed out a little bit there at the end.
He's just not gonna do it. Stat Hunter Shush. I can't see it. And
you are blind to the realities.
I like Brandon's team. I think it's it's very good. Other than
I've changed it about like 8 times. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah.
Dexter again is just I like that you've got the IGL roll on him, but again, just comes down to performance.
It was price.
Yeah, it gets to that. It's, like why I've got.
I try my hardest to put some Pius and Blame F in the team.
I also tried that at the start. I tried that in the first one with Simple and Zywu. I tried to have both of them in my team, and as soon as I couldn't do that, I was like, oh fuck it, I'll take NIP players. But I think
that went well.
Yeah, it went really well. I love being an NIP fan. So yeah, I think everyone's got some pretty solid teams here, apart from Emus.
Vitality team's finally paying off. My team's elite.
Your team is. I don't.
There is.
You're not gonna.
I
I don't
wanna hear
think.
no
I think you're
slander.
last. I think you're last in this group.
I don't want to hear no slander.
I think
my team's
Freddie's
winning the whole
Freddie's
thing.
got the best team to try and win. I think you got the best team
Jason's
to
all about
lose.
vitality.
Oh yeah, but don't worry about
What?
Vitality. I think you're talking about his team
What?
on. Were you talking about
I
your
thought
team
you-
on Fantasy?
I thought he was
Yeah,
about
yeah.
vitality. Oh.
He-
No,
I think
I
he
started-
switched
He said he was a
over.
Nip fan, and I was like, no, Vitality is being a Vitality fan is finally paying off for like the first time in 2 years.
Oh, let's
Three
hope
years.
it's.
I quite like this, but I don't
since
really
they were
have a
boys.
team. I just kind of watch the games, and there's
I
players
liked players. I used to follow specific players rather than a team. But the old Envious roster was what sort of got me into Counter-Strike, so I used to follow them
The French teams.
a lot. And all that's left of that now is Mr. Apex. I followed him through the whole career.
But yeah, this has been our fantasy team and our preview of the event. So if you want to join, there'll be a link in the description. See if you can beat Emu's Stat Hunter Shush pick. If anyone can get more outrageous than that, then I'll be impressed. And please tweet that at me. But yeah, join us, see if you can win. And yeah,
Shishy.
thanks for watching.